Well, hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day two of this year's Policy Forum on Identity Authentication and the Road Ahead. I'm Jeremy Grant. I'll be your MC again today. I'm Managing Director in Venables Cybersecurity and Privacy Practice, and I also serve as coordinator of the Better Identity Coalition and an advisor to FIDO Alliance. Along with the ID Theft Resource Center, these three groups are excited to partner on what has become what we think is the best event each year, looking at a range of policy issues around identity and authentication. Yesterday, we had a great set of discussions that focused heavily on the impact of the pandemic on digital identity, looking at how the elimination of in-person transactions and the availability of trillions of dollars of aid fueled record identity theft and fraud. We also had some good talks about the very real impact that all of this has had on individuals, looking at how the identity systems we put in place don't always work so well for a lot of our fellow Americans, and talking about what we need to do as both government and industry to address these issues. We also had an excellent panel exploring where government can help, looking at new initiatives like mobile driver's licenses, attribute validation services, as well as how a bill that's in the House, the Improving Digital Identity Act, can ensure there's a coordinated approach across all levels of government to solving this problem. Today's program is going to continue to explore many of the themes we touched on yesterday. This morning's largely going to focus on authentication. Everyone wants passwords to be dead, but they have somehow very stubbornly refused to go away. Over the weekend, I got word one of my email passwords had been compromised, and now for the third time in 6 months, I need to come up with a new name for my cat. It's the problem with virtual events. You don't hear anybody laughing, or maybe nobody was laughing. Maybe nobody thought it was a good joke. Anyways, thank you. Somebody in the comments said, ha, 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 ha. Look, we're going to start this morning with a keynote I'm really excited about. Eric Mill from the White House, who's going to discuss the government's new zero trust strategy and the role that strong phishing-resistant authentication like FIDO plays in it. And then Andrew Shikyar, who serves as the executive director of FIDO Alliance, will provide some perspectives from the industry side. The FIDO Alliance is a great example of how industry has been collaborating with government to deliver better authentication solutions that aren't just more secure, but that are also easier for people to use. We'll then shift to a panel on how government and industry are rethinking authentication, hosted by my venerable colleague, Grant Schneider, who's also the former US government CISO. The panel will feature speakers from both DHS and Microsoft, as well as from a firm, Guidehouse, that's working very closely with a number of agencies to help them modernize authentication. We'll take a short break, as we did yesterday, around 12:45, to get a bite to eat, stretch your legs. We'll then kick off the afternoon with a panel looking at next generation digital ID proofing, with a particular focus on the ways that artificial intelligence is being used to more effectively detect and block attacks. AI offers some great benefits, but its use has also raised a lot of policy concerns around potential bias and accuracy issues. This panel is going to explore how AI is being used today and how companies in the space are taking proactive approaches to tackle potential bias and accuracy issues, and also discuss the role that policymakers can play in ensuring that as we're looking at using more AI-enabled identity tools, we can have a framework in place to deliver maximum benefit and minimum risk. We're then going to shift to three sessions that are going to be getting different government perspectives. First, we have a spotlight session set up with the FDIC's Chief Innovation Officer, Sultan Megji, and Kate Turner, who's the lead for digital identity at FinCEN. Just last week, they announced plans to host a tech sprint focused on measuring the effectiveness of digital ID proofing for digital financial services. And they'll be talking a little bit about that tech sprint and how things will work and how they see things rolling out with it today. From there, we're going to hear from Assistant Treasury Secretary Liz Rosenberg, who was just confirmed last month in her role. She's the Assistant Secretary for Terrorist Financing and Financial Crimes at the Treasury Department, basically making her the Treasury's point person for making sure the financial system can't be exploited by adversaries, be they criminals, terrorists, or other countries. Identity is a really important issue for Treasury, I think, with regard to both the ability of financial services firms and government to know who's actually engaging in transactions, and also to ensure that criminals and terrorists can't exploit weak identity controls to move money. And beyond security, digital identity is also really key, both to enabling innovation in financial services and also improving financial inclusion. So I'm excited to hear what Liz has to say today. We'll then end our day with what is a late addition to our panel. We got word last night that Carol House is able to join us. So for those of you who don't know Carol, she serves as the Director for Cybersecurity and Secure Digital Innovation at the White House National Security Council, the NSC, and she's been leading work there in the NSC on digital identity issues. So given the wide array of topics that we've covered in the last few days and the focus of this forum, I'm looking at what we call the road ahead. I'm thrilled Carol will be able to come in and offer some closing remarks.